Welcome back to Electoral Dysfunction, the show where comedians and experts debate the news of the week from the safety of their quarantines. I'm your host, Tom Brennan. Thank you for being with us for another week stuck inside here in Trump's America. The economy is destroyed. COVID is spiking everywhere in the country. But don't worry, we're taking out TikTok. We did it, guys. TikTok is over. Oh, man. America, great again. Wonderful show this week. Great panel. Before we get to that, just want to quickly remind you all that this show, the people who do this show do so for free. Wonderful comedians, wonderful thinkers, wonderful musicians who create content and join us every week for free. If you'd like to send a little money their way to thank them for their efforts, please head on over to patreon.com/electoral dysfunction. That is patreon.com/electoral dysfunction. 100% of anything you donate is going to go straight to the folks who do this show. I won't take a dime. Second of all, I was very lucky this week to be a guest on the podcast Alienating the Audience, hosted by featured guest on this show, Andrew Heaton. Wonderful conversation. We talked about supervillains, why we like them, and which supervillain we would serve. Spoiler alert, I picked Galactus, Devourer of Worlds. Why? I like to travel. Anyway, we got a great panel for you today. I'm not going to waste any more time. Ned Thorne, star wipe me to the panel. And join me in welcoming this week's panel. First up, I love saying this woman's resume. She is a comedian. She is a deacon. She is Air National Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, Hannah Bell's back here. Hey, Hannah, how are you?
Hi, everybody. I'm alive today, so.
That's a great way to be. Of all the ways I've been, alive is my favorite. So next up, one of the great liberal bullies of Twitter, creator of Pick the News, Oliver Willis back with us. Hey, Oliver, how are things in the Sunshine State?
Great. Everything is great in Florida. Nobody is dying. Things are going wonderful. Our governor is very popular.
That's a great bumper sticker for DeSantis' reelection, right? It's like that saying with a nervous person next to it. Thank you for joining us, Oliver. Next up, very funny comedian from the city of brotherly love. If we were still allowed to go places, you'd see her at places like Fit Comedy. Rachel Semigran. Hey, Rachel, how are you?
Hello. Sweating less, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. That means you're like less droplets, which means you're less spreading of COVID-19.
Exactly.
That's science.
Yep, that's how it works. Thank you, Dr. Fauci.
I would say Trump just hired me to replace him, so that's and editorial columnist for the New York Daily News and the voice of New York City, Robert George. Hey, Robert, how are you?
I'm doing well, Tom. Wonderful to be back on this fine show.
That's right. This fine show that you co-produce. How do we get you every week? I don't know.
I know it is kind of tough. I like to think of myself as the quiet man behind the scenes.
I am desperately waiting for the week where you're like, I can't be on because Errol Lewis needs me to be live on Inside City Hall for New York One. It's a New York City joke. Or I was going to go with you were going to handle Ruben Diaz's Ask the Borough President on Bronx 12.
Well, actually, Tom, if you're going to make the New York joke, so this is something that Hannah will get. You could have actually said Errol Lewis needs me to be on to fill in for him to see if anybody notices.
Hey, boom!
You guys in your East Coast liberal media New York bubble.
Exactly.
Such elites.
This is one last joke for the New Yorkers. I love a world where knowing who Errol Lewis is makes you elite and not just like the biggest loser in New York or in a hospital in New York where the TV's on.
That's not good that far. Listen.
That's true. Yeah, they're normally on Bronx 12. Rough week for America. New York, the Washington Post headline said it all that by this week, 5 years of economic growth has been destroyed by COVID-19. We're seeing infection rates continue to go up across a lot of the country, particularly in the Sun Belt states. And at the same time, the economy not doing great. Don't worry, the Republican Senate has chosen to bravely break for the weekend, so they couldn't get to a deal in time. Well, the Democratic House did something 2 months ago, but we try to be fair and down the middle on this show. So say if you were in Washington D.C. and you had the option to take a weekend off as of Friday, you take it too. All right, the Senate represents the people. We all want to go home on Friday. I'll give Mitch McConnell that.
For Thursday.
That's right. Yeah, on a Thursday.
It's Summer Fridays, guys.
Yeah.
Fridays.
Have you ever tried commuting to Delaware on a Thursday?
You know who loves commuting to Delaware? Joe
That's
Biden.
right. That's right.
Very good. That's nice.
Very nice.
Amtrak, folks.
That's right.
Nice shout out there.
Potential future president. Yes, Robert, go ahead. In fairness to Mitch McConnell, who does deserve mercy.
In fairness to Mitch McConnell, the Republicans are in these stressful times with the pandemic going on. They're trying to look at alternate ways of work. Everybody's working from home, so there's this thought that maybe they should go to a 4-day work week. To increase their productivity. So the Republicans have now figured out a way to work only 4 days and still not get anything passed, which is when they used to have to work 5 days to not get anything passed.
You're
so
right.
this is something of an improvement.
That's
Yeah,
true.
I mean, that's why you don't have the big government liberals, right? That's why you have to have your small market, small government conservatives. They've whittled down what the liberals used to do in a whole week. They're not doing in 4 days.
That's right. Yeah, they said, "Hey, what if instead of working from home, we didn't work from home?"
They are efficient.
I like to believe that Mitch McConnell slips into the press conference we turned the air conditioners off in the whole building for the weekend. Think of you people are always complaining about the environment, reducing the carbon footprint of this building. But fortunately, meanwhile, the president of the United States is all on it, all full, charging to help resolve.
By the way, Tom, who is that man?
As of this recording, the president of the United States is still Donald John Trump. Thank you for filling me.
Thank you for filling me in on that.
I like to, Donald Hussein Trump, as I like to call him, is still the president of these United States. And he has a couple of plans to really get things going again. First off, he this week announced that with the potential for voter fraud in a mail-in ballot election, he asked this in a tweet with 3 question marks. So that's how you know if he's serious. Move the election back? Consider moving it back?
Question mark.
Delay the election. Was it delay the election?
Sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. Fake news from me. Delay the election? Question mark? Which I have to say, I try to be fair to the president, as you all know. But I think nothing tells me you're less in touch with everyone in this country, left, right, and center, than if you say, what if we just put the election off a little bit? Because I get the sense that even the most MAGA hat wearing West Virginia diner customer is I would not mind voting tomorrow and just get this thing out.
Everybody wants to get it over with. It's one of the hallmarks, I think, of every year. Even the years when my side, my guy or my gal is doing well, it's we want to get it over with. I wish we had the elections in July. Have the primaries in February, March. Have the election in July, and then we could spend Christmas without this hanging over us,
Yeah, really brings summer vacation.
Yeah.
In the before times, the primary was the thing that I was I'm so attached to this. I care so much. Wow. And then COVID happened and the social justice uprisings happened, and I'm we're still dealing with this election, and I'm spent. I think everybody just wants to get it over with. I'm sure the MAGA people are rock hard to vote. They're ready for it. So yeah, just let us do it and get it over with, because I can't believe we still haven't.
Yeah. And in case you're keeping count, as of this recording, we are still a little less than 100 days away from the election, which, in the year 2020, where, as Robert is quick to point out, we have already had an impeachment of a president. That happened this year.
Yeah, it did. It's
less than 100 days is still 6 years away. The other sorry, go ahead, Hannah.
Here's what's problematic about it's about more than just getting it over with or meeting election day and letting it pass. he's constantly like testing the waters of like holding on to his power. And there are people in his base that would support this move. Like,
oh, for sure.
Good job. Yeah, let's push the election back. It's just like, no.
Yeah.
Well.
We need to
There's
send you
two.
to Washington.
There's two things. There's two things there. One of the positive things that developed this week was how much real pushback from the Republicans that this idea came with. I mean, it was just in a world. There you go. In a world where the Republicans were 100% behind Trump during impeachment, as we just said, and anytime anybody steps slightly, in an increment, a soupçon, as it were, of criticism, Trump slaps him down, and there's a MAGA gangbang to beat up whoever steps out of line. This time, though, everybody said no, there's no way that the election is going to be delayed. So that's the good thing. But Hannah's point, though, is absolutely correct, that whenever he starts putting these things out there, when he starts tries testing the cultural norms here and there to see what he might be able to get away with, he is setting up the scenario not so much about delaying the election, but just putting enough chum in the water for people to start questioning how the election plays out. Now, we also know, and we'll probably talk about this a little later on, we know that he's got one of his handpicked people running the Postal Service, and there have already been some reports that the person in there has been putting in these regulations that are supposed to, quote, save money, but have already started to slow delivery down, which again starts making people wonder about the integrity of the Postal Service, which will then make them worry about the integrity of when they get their mail, when they get their ballots. Will the ballots get returned in time? So he projects so much out there to create the chaos that he supposedly is afraid of.
And then the thing is too, like, I think that we're forgetting is that he's able to get people to almost rationally discuss these things, right? I mean, 4 years ago, a president suggesting to delay the election would be insane. It would be like one of the most insane things you've ever heard of in your life. And like, instead this week, some Republicans kind of spoke out against it, but like, it was like a rational topic of conversation. And people were like, well, here's the constitutional reason why you can't delay the election. And it's like, it's moving the Overton window on really crazy stuff.
I just want to
Constitution.
Robert, I just want to quickly say, please never say MAGA gangbang on this show ever again. Even if it's correct.
Title of episode? Title of F.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Rachel. She knows how to play this game very well.
If I make that the title of the episode, I think I then have to go to like the police station and report myself.
You'll get the wrong audience.
But I think like that's exactly right. The question people ask, can he do that? And like that's sort of, at first everyone's kind of joking response to everything Trump says. He is like, doesn't matter if he can. We ask that about everything, but it's sort of irrelevant. Can he do that? I mean, no, probably not, if nothing else, and because I think each state handles the actual execution of their elections, and it's impossible, as we've learned in this pandemic, to get all of the states to do anything together, good or bad. But exactly as you said, the question, it doesn't really matter if he can do it or not. The fact that we are talking about, that people are talking about it reasonably, and that it's a debate, exactly as Hannah and Robert said, it sows some discord. I do think it's fair to say, though, like the pushback from conservatives was, I think, notable. I've been someone who kind of can roll my eyes at what I view as like people being quick to be like, oh, conservatives said something, medals for all. But The co-founder of the Federalist wrote, an op-ed where he basically referred to this tweet as grounds for impeachment and removal from office. And these are the same, or the Federalists of the
Federalist Society.
Federalist
Society. Yeah.
And the Federalist Society is not, some fringe, I mean, they're a fringe group because they're crazy, but they're not, they are pretty well ensconced in Trump land. They basically suggested every judge he's put through. So it's not nothing. And I think, but I don't know that it symbols a conscience change so much as it symbols a story broke late in the week that Mitch McConnell has been telling Republican senators in swing states to feel comfortable running away from Donald Trump if they so choose. Hey, it's Kal-El, everybody.
Hey.
Oliver Willis demonstrating how Donald Trump does it. Start to talk about something and then adorable puppy.
Yeah, I know, right?
I wish he showed us puppies more often.
That's true.
This is Oliver doing his Putin Trump impression right here.
Right.
Exactly. Kal-El is playing Donald Trump for today. And
look, he's the best. He's the best. He's the best dog you've ever seen. Strongest. He's very powerful. He's cutest. He's the cutest dog. Many people are telling me that he's the cutest dog in the world.
Oh man, that dog. That's.
He turns around and kisses you right on time. That's perfect. That's nice.
You're running even with Craig Laganza's cat Amber for favorite pet on this channel. But all that to say that I think it's less of a symbol of a conscience and more of a symbol of them recognizing that Trump's down in the polls and we no longer have to endorse every crazy thing he says for fear of retribution, particularly now that a lot of cases primaries are over and we're moving into general election mode.
But I feel like it's too late for them. I feel like it's too late. Like, in 2016 they kind of tried this too, like after the Access Hollywood tape, they're like, okay, everyone, step away from him, like move along. And but then the resurgence was, yeah, he won, and then they all had to suck up to him, including Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio. But now it's like, I don't think the distancing can work anymore. Like it's too late. And I mean, and he could still win. That's the other thing we have to remember. Like, it doesn't feel like it, but he definitely could still win. And
definitely.
So
let's not sleep on that point.
Yeah.
The same undercurrent of like silence and support that he had from his base. Well, they're a lot more outspoken now, but he could still win this.
Sure.
Oh yeah. I do not put it past us to re-elect this monster. We did it once, and can certainly do it again. And with all of this undermining of the election, that isn't new to Trump. I mean, the GOP's been doing it for a long time. They've been planting these seeds for a long, long time. And it's all part of their like grand mastermind scheme with all that they do anyway. So yeah, I even if Joe Biden will win the popular vote, but again, the way the Electoral College is going to work out, who's to say? But all of these pieces are going, no matter what the results are, if it doesn't swing his way, I don't know where we're going to be in November, let alone January.
There was a story came out. I think it was this week, but because we're in this weird time, I don't know whether it was this week or 2 weeks ago. I think it came out this week. You've had a group of people, a group of intellectuals and think tank types that have been basically wargaming the election, and it's very disturbing because they did, I believe, they did 4 different scenarios. One scenario.
Can I pause you real quick? Can you just elaborate on what wargaming means for people who might not?
Well, yeah, exactly. So
like
what they, in this case, you got these folks together. Michael Steele, the former RNC chairman, I know was one of them, and you've got some folks from Harvard and other universities and so forth, where they looked at a number of election scenarios. And to see what, given everything that's gone on, the fact we're having mail-in ballots, we've got the pandemic going on, the incredible political divisions that are going on, and obviously and just about everything else. What are some of the likely outcomes politically and socially in terms of elections? One scenario is, you know, a Biden sweep, a Biden landslide. Another one is a close Biden, you know, a close Biden win. Another one is, you know, what we had in 2016. Trump wins the Electoral College. Biden wins the popular. Those were the top three scenarios. In all of these scenarios, they said that it's quite likely that because it's more than 50-50 that there won't be a winner on election night. That means you're going to have possible violence in the streets, even in the context of a Biden blowout, because we've become so entrenched in our politics, and there's already so much distrust on both sides. And by the way, that's what Trump's, you know, that's what Trump's ginning up of delay the election and you can't trust the mail-in ballots. He recognizes the tension and the hostility and the division that's within the society, and he also recognizes, of course, he's driving it, and he's taking advantage of that as well. So, I mean, I think I said this several weeks ago, Tom, that even if Biden wins, we are looking at several years of social unrest in this country. And
see, you know, Rob, I think, I don't know, and maybe this is me being like a cockeyed optimist, but I mean, I see the point of what you're saying with that, and I definitely see like the groundwork being laid for it. But I think if he gets his butt kicked, I really don't think, even among, you know, I mean, yes, these like super hardcore guys will never accept the result. But I feel like, I don't know, like looking back at like 2018, because remember he was talking about like a red wave in 2018, and then they just got their butts kicked in 2018, and they just kind of had to suck it up and accept it. And coupled with the fact that I don't think he wants to be president. I mean, I don't think he doesn't like the entanglements of being president, right? He likes the grandeur, he likes the office, he likes the theme song, he likes to have his own personal theme song.
He likes the money. He likes the
money, but he made almost more money not being president without all the worry about it, right? And I mean,
he likes the food at the White House mess.
Yeah, I mean, sure, yeah. So like that part of it too, like I feel like he might just, especially losing to another white guy, because that's the thing, right? He doesn't want to lose to a lady or a black, right? Or a black lady. But if he loses to a white guy, and like I don't know, like
Oliver, I'd love to agree with you on this, but number one, he faces, if he does lose, he faces legal trouble, and it's not. And
I don't think so.
No, and Oliver, it's not the legal trouble that say. Let's just say he got his butt kicked and decided he wanted to quit right away and let Mike Pence fill out the last couple of months. Oh, by the way, Mike, and pardon me for anything that I've done. He still faces local prosecutors in New York going after him in ways that a federal pardon will not wash away. So that's.
I just want to add to that, you know, from our New York elitist bubble. Also worth noting, local prosecutors in New York who are up for re-election next fall, and they are up for re-election the fall of 2021 in a city that has suddenly come to life in caring about who its prosecutors are for the first time in my lifetime. So. Like they are going to be, they have, you know, Cy Vance, who's our Manhattan district attorney, who is well known for being very friendly with some horrible people. But, you know, if he decides to run for re-election, the only way he doesn't deal with I don't think he's decided to run for re-election yet, but I think the only way he doesn't deal with a real serious challenge or a way to blunt a serious challenge.
He already has at least one or two challenges.
He has a couple serious. Yeah, the way to blunt that challenge is going to be to aggressively go after Donald Trump. Like that is a thing he's going to do for that. I think that is a relevant thing, and that means. The only way Trump, as we said 2 weeks ago, I think, you know, the only way Trump gets out of that is if Andrew Cuomo does something unethical and helpful for. Wow. That dog lost his shit when I said Andrew Cuomo.
Andrew Cuomo is a trigger word.
Andrew Cuomo is kryptonite to Kal-El. I mean, it's
goodness.
What kind of a watchdog is he? What are his keywords? What is he cluing us in about right now?
Yeah, that was.
Who watches the watchdogs? I mean, that is the question.
But I think a point that, you know, like the key argument of a Biden presidency that I think Oliver is speaking to here, and the reason that he was able to win the Democratic primary and has so far led in the polls, like I think it's fair to say that there is a desire in maybe not a vast majority of Americans, but a considerable majority of Americans for boredom again. And all that to say that, like, with that the case, it's not impossible that, you know, I think you're right, Robert, that there will be more unrest than any of us would, than certainly people in charge of a country would like. But at the same time, like, I can see Oliver's point that once Trump's out, there will be some people who are going to these protests, and maybe not a majority, and, you know, maybe not but like I'd say a noticeable chunk in any protest who'll be like, all right, I'm going home.
But I just want to put this out there, though. Remember, you know, it was just a couple of months ago that the president of the United States was tweeting out "liberate" to states where he was trying to urge Democratic governors to open up early, and people responded to him. You had armed militia types, you know, that tried to intimidate Governor Whitmer in Michigan and Wolf in Pennsylvania and others, and then just over the last couple of weeks, while the federal forces and Portland protesters have been clashing, you've been having these groups like the 3 Percenters, who are these white militia groups, starting to exert their presence, and they had a standoff with a black militia group in Louisville a week ago as well. So I mean, these dynamics are manifesting themselves before our very eyes.
Sure. Hannah, did you have a point?
It feels very in game, like analyzing all the scenarios.
Yeah.
Iron Man, you guys.
Yeah.
You're right. Man needs a running mate.
You're right. If there's one thing America needs right now, it's a rich guy who makes weapons who doesn't believe he should listen to the government. I think we would talk about one other plan the president has to push back, or that he announced in the last 24 hours, but I'm not sure how long we need to talk about it because it does seem like a thing that he just said. But looks like he wants to get rid of TikTok, which I am split on, because on the one hand, I don't use TikTok, but on the other hand,
you're too old.
We're recording this. Well, I was gonna say we're recording this 2 days before my birthday. I will be 37, and how am I supposed to know who I'm supposed to resent if there's no, you know, how am I supposed to be like, I hate you so much? See, Kal-El's with me. TikTok.
Yeah, it's hard to not, like, on one hand you're like, oh well, maybe if it is like a national security issue, because again it's owned by like a foreign government and sharing our information and things like that. But I'm like, I think deep down he's just pissed at the TikTok teens that like ruined his
Tulsa rally
in Tulsa. Yeah,
100%.
Sarah Cooper's out there making him look like the jackass that he is just by mouthing his words. So yeah, it's hard not to think that it's just not personal, that this is just, he's like, I don't like these kids and their TikToks.
Yeah.
And nothing's going to help the growth of TikTok better than being the app that the president of the United States hates. Like, their marketing team has got to love it, because talk about forbidden fruit. Like, you know, the president doesn't want you to download our app. Like, I think this is the best app for TikTok ever.
This is a true story. Not an hour ago. My phone rang, and I was just getting out of the shower, so I didn't get a chance. I didn't get a chance to answer it. It was a voicemail from my sister, who has a 5-year-old and an 11-year-old. Now my mother lives with them. They're all down in Georgia, and my mother is a big a political show junkie. So she's always watching everything on CNN and MSNBC. And the 11-year-old is usually rolling her eyes at the fact that grandma is spending all of her time, watching all the political shows. My sister leaves me this message. Milan, that's my niece. She's all upset about this, and she's running to her grandma saying, "It says, why does President Trump want to take away TikTok?" so the President of the United States has managed to turn off yet a whole generation that won't even be able to vote against him for another 7 years.
Yeah, it's the forbidden fruit. He's made it the forbidden fruit now.
But there's a lot of people 18 through 38 who want that generation to think they're cool. Like me. I was already going to vote against Trump, but if this became a thing, I'd be like, yeah, I'm against Trump. I'm still relevant and young. Oh, it's sad. Yeah. Wait.
I have to put up a post on MySpace just to show how outraged I am.
The TikTok.
I gotta reopen my GeoCities account.
Oh, God.
I'm making a very angry live journal post about it.
Black Planet.
Yeah. Right.
Oh.
Very nice. Oh man, we really carved out a niche audience for this show. People the age of everyone on this panel.
Yeah, right.
Tom. I think I sent you a Friendster invitation. You haven't responded to me yet.
What's up with that?
Very
I'm not
true.
on your top 8 anymore. What's up with that? You changed
canceled.
your song
You're
in your
canceled.
profile.
Turn my song in my profile.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I remember that being a thing. Oh, I changed my song in my profile once, and a friend was like, "Why'd you change it?" And I was like, "Oh no!" Suddenly it was like in an instance. I was like, "Oh God, Donald Trump's gonna be president one day." I know
Oliver, did you drop me?
Decade.
Oliver, did you drop me from your blog roll? That's what I'm.
All right.
Spiral down.
Oh man. Like,
Oh my God! How many more of these things?
Qualified for Centrum Silver advertising on this show. So Trump wants to get rid of TikTok, and I'm just curious, Robert or anyone on the panel. I actually missed why he wants to get rid of TikTok.
No, there is
China. I think it's China.
It is.
Covert
Right. I mean,
reasons
Rachel hinted at this. It is foreign owned, and it's not just foreign owned. It's China.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
There have been, and in fairness, the national security apparatus has been raising some red flags about this for quite some time. For this, some of the similar reasons why they wanted Huawei. How do you pronounce it?
Huawei, I think it is.
Huawei also shut down as well. Now, for those people who are somewhat cynical enough to think that Trump barely cares about this, and it may have more to do with Sarah Cooper and the TikTok kids who screwed up his rally. That may be true too. There are some legitimate national security questions about it. However, the American-owned the American subsidiary who runs TikTok, I think it's called Byteware, has said, we're willing to be fully taken over by an American company. Microsoft is supposedly interested. Trump said, "Oh well, I don't think that's going to be enough. That'll be enough, and I want to shut it down." So we'll see how it plays out.
The one. I mean, I think this mostly is junk. But the part that I think is really funny is, coming from the Democratic side of hearing about how we're going to be anti-business and all of this. And to have the Republican president is the guy who's gonna ban, the app from the App Store, and he's gonna, he's signing laws about, attacking Twitter, and it's the war. I wish the Democrats would really adopt Donald Trump is conducting a war on business, even COVID. That's a war on business, and Biden should get out there going, I'm for the little guy, the big giant tech company.
Yeah,
right?
I'm for little guys like Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was his testimony, Zuckerberg's testimony this week. I thought it was kind of funny he testified in front of Congress this week, and like every time he spoke, he sounded like he was like the owner of a ma and pa like farm. He's like, we're just down here, down on Facebook farms, and we're just a mom and pop kind of operation.
I'm
and
just a simple country social media network.
If anyone buys it, then Biden should jump into it.
Everyone once in a while, I sell things to China.
The dot that isn't quite connecting is like Donald Trump is concerned about like national security, and he tweets rampages at 3:00 in the morning. It's just like, you, even if there was some kind of like validity to the situation, I can't hear that coming from you. You're the worst for national security.
And we have, it is proven that we know that like Russia messed with our elections via social networks, through the internet, like through these types of campaigns. So it's like, you can't pick one because you don't like what it's doing for you, but then
or can you?
Yeah.
I mean, he can, and the GOP will certainly let him. But if we were to live in a democracy, you'd think maybe not.
Yes, good. Were is a keyword there.
Democracy, schmocracy.
All right. How many times are you going to do that this show?
Speaking of commit to the bit, Tom.
Well done. Speaking of our democracy, so I read this today. I did not know this, but apparently, so the CARES Act, which was passed back towards the beginning of this crisis, it's possible. Now, this is damning it with faint praise because there's not a lot of competition, but possibly the most popular legislation that Donald Trump has signed into office, and one of the most popular bipartisan pieces of legislation of the last decade or so. Now, there hasn't been a lot of bipartisan legislation the last decade. That's a big part of it. But all that to say that the question I have here, so we're Friday, this past Friday, the unemployment benefits of the CARES Act ran out. And so the question that the question I have right now is this: you're a Republican running for re-election in a year where the president is not super popular. It could be a very good year for the opposing party. You have a chance to push through a bill that will send money to voters.
Free money.
Why won't you do it? What's the holdup? Why?
Well,
why?
I think it's because they think Biden's going to win, and if Biden's going to win, they have to set themselves up as deficit hawks. Like I think that's the simplicity part of it. Now, I mean, it seems crazy because, like you said, it's like the Joker in the first Batman movie where you're just in the street throwing out money, and you think that they would leap at the opportunity to do it, but I really feel like it's because they think they're going to lose.
Well, if I could put on my erstwhile Republican hat for just a moment, and I mean, I think I personally think just as somebody who not just once worked for the party and worked on Capitol Hill and so forth, I don't understand it. I don't understand it myself because even if you're wishing at best that not that there's going to be a vaccine, but infections and deaths and so forth will be sliding down by election day, and so Trump might try to run as well. We've got this under control guy. By not doing anything right now, you encourage the idea of further economic distress as the election day. So it from a tactical, even if, to Oliver's point, that they were trying to do this from a deficit, from the idea that they want to become born again deficit hawks. There is a legitimate split amongst the 53 Republicans where you do have those who honestly believe that that the added unemployment benefits act as a disincentive for some people going back to work. And I will say this: completely separate from politics. I have talked to individuals, including somebody who works in my own building that said that an employee of theirs that they were asking to come back to work basically said, I'm going to see how this plays out for the next few weeks, and I am actually making more money with the enhanced unemployment. Now, I think the actual number of people who do that is incredibly small, and but
there have been studies that have come out that have found it to generally not be a disincentive on the whole for majority.
So there are some out there. But even if you accept that at face value, there's absolutely no reason why they can't stay in Washington and say, okay, well, maybe it doesn't have to be $600 a week. Maybe it should be more like $400 or something like that. At least or let's phase it out over the next. That's what you do in normal politics. You try and, okay, you want 600, we want 200. Let's meet in the middle and let's go, and then let's go home. And instead, they decided that they don't know what they want to do, and so they walked away from it. I think it's stupid. It's stupid. It's stupid morally, and it's stupid politically as well, in my view.
And on the topic of like the disincentive, it's like, well, then why are you the party that won't raise the minimum wage? Why won't you pay people? Why won't you give part-time employees benefits and time off? So it's which one is it? And the cynical part of me, I just think the GOP, they don't care if we die. They don't care if we're poor, as long as their pockets keep getting lined. And I think this is just another one of those scenarios that who's ever lobbying for them, whoever they work for, has enough money that even if they vote to not get people unemployment during a pandemic, that their asses are still covered. That's like my cynical take on it.
I have an equally cynical take on it. I was raised in the Midwest in Republican country, and I've seen like the spectrum of people who have really strong conservative beliefs, people who have kind of like a moderate Republican stance, and to use the idea that, you need to work to make money, you need to work to make a living, you don't depend on any handouts or anything like that, to use that stance that because of certain privileges that you are able to do for yourself, to hide behind that during a pandemic is bullshit. Like, it's just bullshit. People can't go out yet. People can't go back out to work. So let's not even like have the conversation in that direction. Like, people, like, I'm a New York artist. I know people who, without that, they have nothing. And if you think you've seen civil unrest, you haven't seen it. Yes. People need livelihood, and to put it back in people's laps, like, oh, you need to work to make a living. I can't go out. I can't work to make a living. And when I was, to Rachel's point, working for minimum wage without benefits, I wasn't making a living. I was just working my life away. So it's just like, get out of here with that.
Well, I think that's the thing that is concerning about it to me. Like, I think there's a fair argument to be had about whether or not, too much government assistance disincentivizes people to work under normal conditions. Like, that's a reasonable argument to have. Like, we should be disincentivizing people going outside right now. Like, it's dangerous to leave your home. Like, we're in, those of us who are in New York on this call, like, we're at, I think, a record low in terms of the spread right now. And I'm still like anxious when I leave this house. I still have like the mask, the gloves, the hand sanitizer and everything. And we're at, I think, below 4% spread rate at this point. Or at least we were for a few days this week. And, like, that's the thing that's frustrating to me, is like, that argument is fine for, a year where there's no pandemic.
Yeah.
Like,
and on top of what Hannah said too, like, you have to couple that with the fact that they also want to make it difficult to sue your employer if you get sick when you go back to work. Right? So it's like, not only are they doing all this while there's a pandemic, they're also like, oh, and by the way, if you do happen to go back to work and you get sick, you can't sue your boss over it. So it's like, just from a PR point of view, it's really odd to me, because usually it's the Democrats, in my opinion, that make these really ham-fisted PR moves. And so, like, with the Republicans, when they come across as like a Dickensian bad guy, where it's like, you don't get any money, you have to go out in the virus, and if you go in the virus and get sick, you can't sue your boss. I'm like, I feel like from the Democratic side, like, guys, you're almost making it too easy, where even the Democrats can make an argument.
I could almost
about that. Sorry, I just want to add quickly on that about the Senate bill that McConnell has pronounced has a great deal of like protecting employers from liability. Part of the reason that there has been a holdup in moving that bill along is because the White House does not necessarily support that. Now they might support that morally, but the White House has wisely put together that might not be a political winner in an election year.
Trump gets that kind of thing, right? Like, he doesn't understand anything really, but he understands the really kind of base gut stuff. That's one of the things he gets more than Mitch McConnell, understands. Like, he knows that, like, give people money, they'll like you. Don't like that. He understands that part of it. Like, he doesn't understand.
I mean, that's the one thing from his former Democratic life that he still understands. Throw money at the situation and it might work. The McConnell thing, I can sort of understand where you might want to tinker on liability issues given everything that's going on, but some of the things are just absolutely nuts. I mean, in one version of this, it would have basically given doctors like a blanket malpractice liability waiver through 2024, whether the claim was related to coronavirus or not. So basically, look, if you're a doctor and you've got like kind of a hinky background and you believe that demon sperm is creating a coronavirus or something like
open
that.
Season.
It's open season. You go and do whatever you want because we're gonna protect you.
And let's talk one last issue for the week, and that is the Veep stakes. It's we're coming in on the closing days of the vice presidential selection process, and lest a week of Republican dysfunction fool you and make you think the Democrats have together. Don't worry.
We're the best at it.
Finding a way to screw up the Veep stakes.
Democrats are not going to let their brand go to waste.
We're finding a way.
We will ruin this.
News broke this week or stories are coming out from the Veep stakes selection team. The vice presidential selection team for Biden is led by former Connecticut Senator Chris Dodd. If you ever want to really just be grossed out, Google him, Ted Kennedy, and weekends.
Yep.
Word leaked that he was not sold on Kamala Harris, senator from California, who's the front runner because she's too ambitious, which I think it's a fair question. Is America ready for an ambitious vice president?
Yeah.
And that came out like they felt that she had not responded. She was a little too, they didn't feel like she was properly apologetic for her sharp lines and sharp elbows at Joe Biden during the debates. My immediate thought, and I'm going to turn it over to everyone else here, and then a few other stories and alleged hit pieces or oppo dumps came on a few other candidates, including Representative Karen Bass from California. My thought is this: if I am Joe Biden and one line in a debate nearly derailed my entire campaign from Kamala Harris, like that was a 24-hour window where it looked like he was on the ropes. If I'm him, my immediate thought is, I want that to be the person attacking Donald Trump on the campaign trail. Like that is the
and Mike Pence. Mike Pence,
yeah. That is the one. And Joe Biden, those of us TikTok kids who remember the 2008 primary pretty well, Joe Biden had a similar, I think Kamala Harris came into the primary with more fanfare than Joe Biden did in 2008, but he was a similar kind of role. He had very strong debates. He he proved more than a few times that he can throw some elbows. He basically ended Rudy Giuliani being a serious person with the joke every time everything Rudy Giuliani says is a noun, a verb, and 9/11, which, those of us in New York who hated Rudy, we're like, yes.
Yeah, it's one of the best debate lines ever.
So
exactly.
if I'm Joe Biden, I look at Kamala, I think, this is independent of her record. I'm record-wise a little stronger on Elizabeth Warren, but I think Kamala Harris, in terms of a candidate who, and what's a vice president do besides be a sort of an attacker on the stump, at least in the campaign trail. If I'm Joe Biden, I'd look at Kamala Harris and be like, yeah, she almost took me out. Let's put her to work.
Yeah, I mean,
Oliver, actually, 1 second. I think I'd like to hear what Rachel and Hannah have to say about this on this particular issue.
Wow, Robert George, progress.
Hannah, why don't you go first?
It's just nonsense, like the level of sexism that's in play. Like, we use coded language, like she's ambitious, blah, blah, blah. All that comes down to is like, she's a woman who has accumulated a certain amount of power and influence in her sphere, and men find that intimidating. Am I the hugest backer of Kamala because of her record? No. Is she an intriguing partner with Biden? Yes. Specifically for the things that were named in this conversation before. And kryptonite to Trump might be taking on a woman of color. He doesn't know where to go there, especially with somebody who is as she gets the game and she plays it. Like that's problematic for the Trump campaign.
Yeah.
I'm still for Iron Man, really, as the VP.
He that's a good point. He loses it when he is attacked by women. Like, he loses his complete cool and his composure. Rachel, please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even thinly veiled sexism, racism, anything you want to slog at her. They're not even trying to hide it. And for all the, as the Democrats, as we claim to be the party of accountability, or voters shout about accountability, and it's like, well, wouldn't you want a VP that's going to hold the president accountable? Isn't that the whole point of what we're yelling about as progressives? So yeah, it's one of those things that, like, I don't even want to, like, deem it worthy, because it's like, well, I know what this is. This is just, it's just plain sexism. It's plain racism. It's like, I
guess
how I feel about it.
My take on it is a little contrarian in that I don't know. I feel like every 4 years we really hype up Veep stakes, and then other than with Sarah Palin and maybe Joe Lieberman, but generally speaking, it ends up being mostly a nothing burger. And especially in a year like this where, I mean, the race is almost not even Biden versus Trump. It's literally just America versus Trump. And so the people, I think they pack a lot of their anxieties into the Veep stakes. And especially, right now, I think we're seeing like some relitigation of the primaries again, because you have the Kamala stands and the Warren stands, and you've got a few other people going with others, and it's like I feel like I personally want Biden to like make it play out. I would be perfectly happy if he didn't pick one until September, because I just don't think it's a big deal. Like, he's either going to win or lose based on him versus Trump. I don't think, unless he picks someone crazy, unless he picks Joe Lieberman again. I don't think.
But
if he picks Chris Dodd.
I think to counter that, perhaps there's a bit more anxiety around this VP selection, because Biden is an old man.
That's exactly the point. That's exactly the point.
Die in office, just as much as
Trump could die in office.
Yeah. And so it's just one of those things that, and aside from that, like, Biden might, God willing, he gets the presidency, could be a one-term president again, because by that time he will be 82 years old. Yeah. And so I do think there are some stakes to this VP because it could be ushering in a successor.
I would say,
no, that's exactly.
I just want to jump off that real quick, Robert. Like, not only could it be he's too old or too sick, like, politically it is advantageous for him to say, I beat Trump. That's a huge win for the country. I'm going to spend every waking hour of my presidency working on COVID recovery. and you can run for election. Like that is a politically, then he could be a strong president. Robert, I apologize. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. No, Rachel's 100% right. I think the Veep stakes are much higher this year than they have in the past. And also, I think it's of note as well because I think Oliver mentioned this earlier on. Trump has realized that he has difficulty attacking another white guy. It's harder than going against a woman or going against a person of color.
It's like attacking himself. It's attacking himself.
Exactly, which is why I think, and my a good friend of mine, Sophia Nelson, who's a black female lawyer, we worked together on the Hill, back in the 90s.
It's pre-TikTok.
He will use. I think will use Biden's running mate as his proxy for his attack on Biden, and I think he's gonna marry two different messages here. He's already been pushing the idea that that Biden is senile and weak and so forth, and now it's going to be, well, there's this ambitious woman, possibly ambitious woman of color, who is really the power behind the scenes. This person is tied into that crazy radical left that's
he'll Hillary-ize her. He'll Hillary-ize an AOC and
tearing down all these statues. It's partly Hillary, partly the left, the progressive base, the squad, and all of this, and that is going to be that's going to be a large amount of his attack. But basically saying, the Biden's the figurehead, and can you trust it? Can you trust this woman, particularly maybe possibly this black woman, when he could die the day after he takes the oath of office, and then she will be in power. I think that's the imagery that everybody is going to have to anticipate that Trump's going to use.
If I may add to this, to many of your points, there's also a part of the base in the Democratic Party that is left that needs to be satisfied, that is not satisfied with Joe. Everybody who didn't vote for Hillary because of her political baggage is not sold by Uncle Joe as a solution to Trump. So I think the stakes are high.
And some of them are very skeptical of Kamala Harris for similar reasons, being a prosecutor. I mean, that whole Kamala as a cop kind of a thing. Yeah. A lot of that came from. Yes, it came from some of the Republicans who were trying to mess up the nomination process. But a lot of it came from some of the Bernie bro.
It's a real thing.
From the Bernie bro types as well, as well. But by the way, one point, and I'm kicking myself that I didn't write this column at the time. But
me too.
Back when Biden announced his Veep vetting committee, and he announced that it was going to be headed up by Chris Dodd, my head really did explode, because here you are in the 21st century where you're supposed to be a little bit more woke on these kind of things, and you've already announced that your running mate is going to be a woman, and you appoint somebody who has one of the worst records in terms of shall we say non-woke behavior in the 1980s. Yeah. I mean, he was, as Tom had hinted, he was Ted Kennedy's
wingman.
Wingman.
Important to note, not forgiving it. They were both single senators, so they were just shitty guys, not shitty husbands.
Yeah, but he was. Yeah, I know, but when we're,
I think that's an important distinction in Washington right now, unfortunately.
But when we're in an era, we're in an era doing a lot of Me Too assessment, going back decades. I thought appointing Chris Dodd to head up your vice presidential vetting, even before the Kamala stuff, I think was actually one of the rare mistakes that Biden's made this year.
Oh man, and Robert, if you'd written that editorial for the Daily News, it could have been called "Him Too?" ?
Oh, thank you.
And with that, we'll call it a week for this week's episode of Electoral Dysfunction. Thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you, Hannah Bell.
Thank you for having me, and happy birthday, Tom.
Oh, thank you in advance. Thank you, Oliver Willis.
Welcome to being old. Kal-El's asleep.
Every day I feel it. Thank you very much, Rachel.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And thank you, Robert George, as well.
Thank you, Tom. Happy birthday, pal.
Hey, thanks, buddy. And real quick thank you to Kevin Scott for the show animation, to Joanne Harris for the show theme song, for Declan Shalvey and Jordy Belair for our Eagle art, and thank you to Ned Thorne for helping me to put these together every single week. Now, as this week's musical guest, long before Hamilton was a thing that everyone knew about, Electoral Dysfunction's educational expert, Chris Kunzio, was walking around the streets of Philadelphia teaching everyone, the kids, the olds, everybody, about Ben Franklin through hip-hop. And here to play us out this week, a track off the album, Young Ben Franklin. It's the best song on the album, Poor Richard. My friend Ned Thorne, star wipe us to the revolution.
1731. I'm 25 years old. Printing, check. Newspaper, check. I'm expanding in every single one of my businesses. Now, I'm gonna write a book. Mr. Franklin is a blizzard, swishing and mixing his thoughts into a vision. He's a wizard, his quips get him big bucks. Oh shit, poor dick, switch to a rich schmuck. Mr. Franklin is a blizzard, swishing and mixing his thoughts into a vision. He's a wizard, his quips get him big bucks. Oh shit, poor dick, switch to a rich schmuck. I'm printing, writing, and getting money at will, and really riddling riddles like the riddle or unriddle, and my quill spilling ink, the reader's reading interestedly. A little iteration, lessons of literacy, a constant consonance of consonants connects continents, astronomical assonance. I'm actually astonishing. All of my accomplishments have left me flaunting. Media empire, I'm still wanting. I look around the landscape, I see I'm printing all that I can, but I plan to be the man to print an almanac. It's the only thing that sells more than the Bible. Buy a Bible once, but this gets yearly reprisals, providing calendars, weather, holidays, and horoscopes. Every year, sharing fun facts for all the poor mopes. I had a guy for me, his name was Titan Leeds. Every year, dude gives me a copy to print. After a couple years, he leaves me. He went to my enemy, left me feeling peeved. I needed something, cause an almanac's a fixture. So I made my own, I became Poor Richard. Mr. Franklin is a blizzard, swishing and mixing his thoughts into a vision. He's a wizard, his quips get him big bucks. Oh shit, poor dick, switch to a rich schmuck. Mr. Franklin is a blizzard, swishing and mixing his thoughts into a vision. He's a wizard, his quips get him big bucks. Oh shit, poor dick, switch to a rich schmuck. So who am I? I'm not the type of guy to take myself so seriously. I'm sad tired of the same shit. I'ma give myself an edge. I'ma make a comical almanac instead. First is my character, I start with an essay. As an old farmer, wasting away the days. He's of ideas and my wife won't go away. Said I'm full of thoughts, I might as well write what I'm saying. So I'll finally shut up and make us some wealth. My goddamn wife wants me to apply myself. I went and created a caricature, pop culture icon, made America's character. I don't stop there, I got a bone to pick with Mr. Titan Leeds, who left me in this predicament. Spit a quick prediction of this dude's death. I said, he's dead, though he ain't dead yet. This sparks his response. He says, you're wrong. I respond, I got the power to talk to those dead and gone. 5 years long and the bickering goes on. Then finally he dies and I'm like, so long. After all, I called that he had died. I lied cause that guy tried to pick a fight with the man, the legend, the myth of Mr. Franklin, a.k.a. Farmer Poor Richard. Mr. Franklin is a blizzard, swishing and mixing his thoughts into a vision. He's a wizard, his quips get him big bucks. Oh shit, poor dick, switch to a rich schmuck. Mr. Franklin is a blizzard, swishing and mixing his thoughts into a vision. He's a wizard, his quips get him big bucks. Oh shit, poor dick, switch to a rich schmuck. I gotta take action, gotta be proactive. Poor Richard's personality's now established. I got a tactic that'll stand up from the masses of the others to make my almanac a classic. Same price as the others, but mine is a bargain. Print the same shit, I capitalize in the margins. And inside of them, I put little sayings and aphorisms and maxims. Ditties explaining different rules on life and the habits of the common man. Ideas concise and simple to understand. Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy and wise. 3 could keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. Creditors forget friendships, yet never a debt. And bet with these awesome quotes, my almanac is clearly great freaking reading. 10K yearly, 25 years I I never miss an edition. Killing in my business, scripting and printing with precision. And the twist of it is I'm quoted everywhere. I didn't make the quotes though, but people don't care. I ain't Shakespeare here, I just consolidated lessons from farmers passed down from generations. Yet despite my statements negating my credit, you think I invented them. So go ahead then. Mr. Franklin is a blizzard, swishing and mixing his thoughts into a vision. He's a wizard, his quips get him big bucks. Oh shit, poor dick, switch to a rich schmuck. Mr. Franklin is a blizzard, swishing and mixing his thoughts into a vision. He's a wizard, his quips get him big bucks. Oh shit, poor dick, switch to a rich schmuck. You understand what I'm saying? I didn't make those quotes, yet you still give me credit. So the only person who is more quoted in the English language is William Shakespeare. Because you don't think. Dance, puppets, dance! Sheep. I don't feel bad.